Ja, gott folk. Well, that was Swedish. Okay, welcome. I suddenly got the inspiration to make a video. Sitting here in my kitchen, as usual. The reluctant llama. I promised a person to talk a little bit about Buddhist cosmology. It is popularly believed that that does not exist, but I'm sorry, that's not actually the truth. In 1977, when I visited my first teacher, Trango Rinpoche, in Namo Buddha, in Nepal, when he just first built his retreat center there. There was just a few of us up there with him, and I asked him at that time to give me the Bodhisattva vows, which he did. At that time, he gave me a lot of teachings and initiations, just me and him. And when he had given me the Bodhisattva vows, which is like an aspiration, a serious aspiration, to follow a good path in life, a high moral standard, then it took me to the edge of the old stupa, which I suppose is still there, up at Namo Buddha, and looked out over the old valley. And he told me the story of Buddha in a past lifetime when he offered his body to a tigress, a hungry tigress, out of compassion. Because the tigress had cubs and she was starving and the cubs were about to die. So he offered his body as food. So then he told me that if you keep these bodhisattva vows, anyone who do that will, at the end of the universe, float far outside of the fire, the gigantic fire. You will not be part of that fire, but you will float in self-glowing spheres far outside, and you will wait for the next universe to be born, he said, and everything will be cool. Now, it is said that empty space is not empty as such. It has a potentiality. It has a potentiality for awareness, for the one you are. Since beginningless time and will never end, because time does not exist on this plane. And this emptiness, this potentiality for awareness, shows itself as an expression which is known as nirmanakaya, or the expression, and that is this world and everything in it, things we see or cannot see, the totality of existence, all the myriads of universes that exist throughout emptiness. Space is created as matter comes into existence. It is told that some universes are empty of life because they do not have or hold the physical laws for life. But most are full of life everywhere. And it all starts in a big fire that spreads throughout emptiness, forming planets that are born and die. And all life in Buddhism are known as the migrants, because we migrate from planet to planet as they are born and die. There are many different kinds of planets, kinds of life forms. It is said that there are even some life forms who consist of pure energy. They are so old they do not remember when they were born. They think themselves to be immortal, but they're not. Everything in life changes. Everything in life evolves, is in movement. Nothing stays the same except that which is not. And that is the Dharmakaya, the ground of being. It is there, but you can't find it other than actually experiencing it right now as the inner you, in a way, you can say. Even though a you is a word. So this planet that we live on now is known as a type of planet is known as a planet of death, a carbon-based planet that where the death is a prerequisite for life. The soil we grow our food in consists of dead organisms. If there was no death on a planet like this, then there would be no life. It would be without death. This would be just a lifeless rock spiraling through space. And this gives, of course, implications on being a vegetarian or a vegan or eating meat. But that's maybe I'll talk about that later. So you might think that this story is an adaptation to modern times when we know about this, but it isn't. Milarepa, who lived, I think it was during 1100, what do you call that, 10th century? He talked about this. It looks like when you do proper Buddhist meditation and arrive at non-duality and you learn to listen, you learn to see beyond your thought identity, then you will see these things. They are there in the so to call mind of the awakened being, because it happens all the time right now. So this universe will come to an end as matter fills up, as it grows, and it will collapse again into itself and arrive again at a big fire that will explode and start new life again. Though life is all dependent on the ground of being and that you are here. Some people think that reincarnation or reincarne, back into the flesh, is just a myth. But it isn't. I'm sorry about that. It's a reality. I remember quite a number of my past lives. And throughout my 50 years as a Buddhist, I've met so many people who remember. Our Abrahamistic background and the science in which scientists up until now have claimed to know everything, have put a taboo around this subject. You're considered slightly crazy. It's fine to talk to an invisible person in the sky, but to consider having life as something that can't be destroyed, that's crazy. Well, so this thing about, I'll take that too, this thing about eating meat. Ponder the opposite, that death did not exist. Then you would preferably have a life without any sickness, without old age, without any problems, without slavery, without accidents. Otherwise, being handicapped and old and losing your mind and so on and never be able to die. Or you're hunted in the forest and eaten and you lay there as a carcass and you can't die. Is that compassion? I think not. When you put a plow in a field, you kill millions upon millions of beings. If you kill a cow, a buffalo, sorry all Hindus, you kill a buffalo, you feed 500 people. One being has to die. That doesn't mean that killing isn't terrible. Everyone loves their body. Everyone loves to live. But what do you do on a planet like this? What can you do? You can become a fruitarian and die when you're 10 years old. And you can't walk on the ground anymore because you will crush some ants. And you'll have to wear a face mask not to breathe in something that lives. If you think that this is a perfect life, then I suggest become a Jain. I'm sorry about that, but the Jains have it completely wrong. They sit in the end of their career as a monk. They sit under a tree and starve themselves to death to avoid anyone being killed on a planet where death is a prerequisite for life. So my suggestion, if you live here is that you avoid things like industrial agriculture, industrial meat producers. And there's a difference between when people say you should kill what you eat. Well, the problem there is that eating meat doesn't give the inner emotional trauma that killing does. When you kill a being, that gives a trauma in your personality. Eating meat doesn't. I know this is a question that is difficult to handle, but I'm sorry, that's the way it is. So, this reluctant Lama is going to finish up here. I'm going to have a cup of coffee and watch a few chapters of Big Bang Theory. So I bid you all a very nice day or evening or night or whatever. And please watch this thing again and write if you have questions. I'm sorry that I look the way I do. I'm turning 65 in August. And I don't really care very much how people look. So, have a nice time.